Lie down and win. After rubbing against the female protagonist's luck, I became a group pet. Introduction. Passerby armor Counterattack+Face beating cool Text+Group Pet+Multiple falling horses, Yu Jianning dressed up as an NPC in the general text of Gu Zaoba, transforming into a sacrifice on the path of the male and female protagonist's sadistic love. Every day from 1 to 12 o'clock, no matter where she goes, she always dies due to the male and female protagonist's fancy moves. After his 99th death, the hardworking Yu Jianning finally lifted the table. Salted Fish Turnover Day 1. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Salted Fish Turnover Day 2. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Yu Jianning suddenly woke up, his tight pupils falling on the approaching leader. She didn't even give the team leader a chance to speak and rushed out the door. This is her 101st resurrection, but unlike the previous 100, she finally encountered variables. Yu Jianning carefully recalled the experience of his last death. She has done it many times before, but it has not caused any change, such as delivering things to the welfare home and wearing birthday clothes. The rest are the girls in formal attire in the park. Yu Jianning was holding a pile of food and drink, squatting in the park, afraid of accidentally missing someone. Fortunately, on that day, as the leaves were stained with dark ink, they began to fall for a second round, and she finally saw the stumbling figure. Help the benefactor. Yu Jianning wiped away her excited tears and rushed up to help. Sister, I'll help you. The girl opened her hand with a snap and her sharp phoenix eyes glared angrily. Who is your sister? Who are you? That's right, it's the feeling of wanting to be beaten. Just think of me as a kind-hearted person passing by, a contemporary living lay phone. Come and sit here. Yu Jianning also despised her dog legs, but she had no choice but to face the only opportunity to break the game. The other party gave her a skeptical glance and sat on the clean swing with half a doubt. Are you hungry? I have some food here. What do you want to eat? Yu Jianning brushed open the bag and found everything inside. I almost forgot that you don't eat fast food. She glimpsed the rice and vegetable roll at the bottom of the bag and was snatched away just as she wanted to take it out. The girl snorted coldly, peeled off the bag and took a big bite. Who said I don't eat it? Yu Jianning. At a young age, one's body is full of bones. Yu Jianning was too lazy to argue with the children, so he took out other rice and vegetable roll and ate them together. She stared at the time on her phone while eating, and when all the numbers returned to 0 and her life crossed 11 o'clock again, she jumped with joy. Yu Jianning was so happy that she dizzied and excitedly threw herself into the girl's arms. Thank you. Thank you. The girl was so scared that she almost fell off the swing. She was about to raise her hand and push the person away, but she heard the person in her arms say, "You are really my lucky star." The hand that had originally refused was stunned in mid-air, and then grabbed the swing chair helplessly. Aren't you holding enough yet? Yu Jianning was awakened by the cold tone of the other party's voice, and also realized his abrupt movements. She apologized repeatedly, but when she looked up, she found that the usually proud little girl blushed like a lantern. Yu Jianning thought it was the cold night wind that made the girl feverish, so he thoughtfully draped his coat over her. It's too late at night. With so many diamonds and gold, it's best to go home early. The girl frowned at the sound and scanned the tightly closed suitcase, her previously lowered sense of vigilance beginning to rise again. She never opened her luggage from beginning to end. How could this person know what was inside? Yu Jianning did not realize that he had slipped his tongue and happily collected the garbage, preparing to go home. She felt that she had already survived the note of death, so she shouldn't be involved in any inexplicable death anymore. Right. Yu Jianning didn't even have time to put away the smile on his lips when he saw a bottle of champagne that had been half drunk rushing straight towards his face. Meow. She instinctively reached out to block, but the champagne bottle had already been intercepted by someone. The girl, who had just remained silent, slightly bent her elbows and tightly grasped the bottle with her slender fingers. The height difference between the two was too great, and the girl tilted her head high and looked down. "Are you okay?" Yu Jianning had not yet regained consciousness from this shock and shook his head foolishly. The girl nodded, and before she could react, she threw the bottle in the direction it was flying towards. This smash directly resulted in the man's curse and the woman's weak sobs. Yu Jianning silently gave her thumbs up in his heart. "Violent beauty, I love it so much." In just a few seconds, a pair of men and women emerged from the grass. The man was handsome and fierce, while the woman was delicate and shy. Ah, an old acquaintance. Yu Jianning had already died countless times because of these two people, almost unable to resist beating them. "Who dares to throw a bottle of wine at me?" The male lead Feng Beixing furrowed his thick eyebrows, his gaze first sweeping over Yu Jianning, and then falling on the person next to her. The eyes, which were originally filled with anger, instantly became a bit more annoyed. "How could I see you everywhere, Ning Qizhi? Ning Qizhi, why does it sound so familiar?" Yu Jianning racked her brain trying to think of something, but she heard the female lead of Little White Flower trembling in her voice. "Ah Ji, why are you still outside so late?" Zaoba turned her gaze to the suitcase and said, "Oh my goodness, you shouldn't have been kicked out, right?" Yu Jianning. She remembered where she had heard the name Ning Qizhi. Ning Qizhi is the nominal younger sister of the female lead Ning Shui. Why is it called nominal? Because this dog blood article also incorporates classic true and false golden plots. Ning Shui is true, Ning Qizhi is fake. Yu Jianning really wants to escape. Why does she feel like she's getting deeper and deeper? She silently took a few steps back, wanting to get out of this blissful and unbearable Shura realm. Before she could escape quietly, Ning Qizhi grabbed the back collar and brought the person back. "Sister, don't worry, even if I leave the Ning family, I won't have nowhere to go," she said. "This is my best friend, and I will be staying at her house temporarily during this period." Yu Jianning. Ha! Ning Shui glanced at Yu Jianning from top to bottom and smiled lightly. "I haven't seen you have this kind of friend before." Yu Jianning grinned dryly, thinking about how to speak when suddenly someone stuffed a hard object into his hand. The sharp edge slid over the fingertips, causing Yu Jianning to immediately wake up. This texture, this hardness, this weight. It's a diamond. What a heavy diamond. At this moment, she wished she could transform into a monkey on Mount X, spinning and jumping wildly, screaming and rolling on the spot. But she restrained herself and exchanged a glance with Ning Qizhi, speaking tacitly. "Ah Ji and I are middle school classmates. We have only just returned to a city recently." Feng Beixing, as the leader of Gu Zaoba, lacks patience the most. At this point, he no longer wants to continue entanglement with these two people. He pulled Ning Shui's arm and held it in his arms, warning him, "Ning Qizhi, I don't care what you're doing, but I'll make it clear to you. I only have Ning Shui in my heart, so don't bother me anymore. If you bother me in Ning Shui again, I'll throw you into the sea to feed the fish." Yu Jianning quietly rolled his eyes. Why don't these bullies open fishing grounds? The shameful frequency of feeding fish is probably enough to feed the entire Atlantic, right? She turned her head to see the noble and cold Ning Qizhi retort, looking for the Shuyuan website www.zhaoshuyuan.com, but saw this person furrowing their shoulders, their slender jade fingers brushing the corners of their eyes, and their tone being affectionate. "Feng brother. Yu Jianning. Are you okay? Are you okay?" Feng Beixing snorted coldly, then turned around and walked away with his people. Zaoba Ningxue kept looking back at us, as if she was very worried. When they walked out a few meters away, Ning Qizhi, who was still burying her head and crying, turned back into an expressionless expression. She gave a tisk sound, wiped away her tearful eyes, and sneered, "Two fools. Yu Jianning. Aren't you a vicious supporting woman who loves and cannot resist the boss? Could it be that I have met a colleague from the bookstore? Will she be saved? Finally, there's a chance to pop up this damn ancient morning essay. What am I doing? Ning Qiji frowned and returned to her aloof and proud demeanor. Yu Jianning looked around and made sure no one was around before tiptoeing to her ear and singing the lyrics that had become popular all over the internet, Chippy Chippy. Choppa Choppa. Yu Jianning blinked in anticipation of the stars, waiting for her to answer the next sentence. Ning Qiji hesitated for a moment before finally uttering a sentence. You probably have a mental illness, right? Wrong payment, my heart is cold. Rat, I am so desperate, Zundu. Ning Qiji paid no attention to her heavy mood and threw one of her luggage bags into her arms, rightfully saying, where is your home? Yu Jianning. Ning Qiji took out a gold ring and said, 2501, Building 3, Walinbi, Dafu Street, Hefeng District. Yu Jianning quickly picked up his luggage bag and said, Princess, please come this way. Salted Fish Turnover Day 3. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Salted Fish Turnover Day 4. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Salted Fish Turnover Day 5. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Salted Fish Turning Over Day 6. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Salted Fish Turnover Day 7. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. The cold touch spread across the forehead, and the pain felt like a small bug, piercing straight into Yu Jianning's head. When she opened her eyes, she saw Ning Qiji frowning and applying medicine to her. Hush. Be gentle, be gentle. Yu Jianning took a deep breath and was so scared that Fu Bao jumped directly from behind her. It's already very light, Ning Qiji snorted coldly, and her hand movements involuntarily slowed down a lot. When Yu Jianning saw herself in the reflective glass, she was about to faint and snatched the red potion from the other person's hand. Princess, are you painting half a bottle? Yu Jianning's wound only took up a small corner, while the reddish-purple potion almost spread across the entire forehead, and the original small wound was almost painted as a serious injury. Ning Qiji blinked innocently and said, This is my first time helping someone apply medicine, I have no experience. This sentence directly made Yu Jianning swallow the words that had already reached the tip of his tongue and say, okay. Ning Qiji flipped out the gauze and said, You still need to tie a circle of gauze, right? Yu Jianning. She is truly a princess whose 5 fingers do not touch the sunshine and spring water. Yu Jianning finally returned to the welfare home wearing gauze and a clumsy bow. What's wrong with you guys? The welfare home mother was startled when she saw her look embarrassed. Why did you bring back a cat? I didn't pay attention when I was walking and ran into a utility pole on the roadside. Yu Jianning didn't want to make the welfare home mother worry and casually lied. As she spoke, she picked up Fu Bao and waved its paw. We picked up this kitten, it's called Fu Bao. On weekdays, the mother of the welfare home also feeds stray cats. When she sees the adorable Fu Bao, she loves it very much and holds it to find something delicious. Yu Jianning has been busy all day and has become a bit drowsy. He is lying on the bed, flipping around with a check. Ning Qiji is flipping through boxes and cabinets, not knowing what she is looking for. Yu Jianning also noticed and jumped up from the bed. What are you looking for? Bedding. What are you looking for bedding for? Isn't there a ready-made one? Yu Jianning pointed to the only single bed in the room and said with a smile, I sleep very peacefully and won't snatch your blanket. That's not the problem. Ning Qiji blushed, as if she would rather die than sleep in the same bed as the other person. Alright, Yu Jianning raised his eyebrows and could only help find it together. They only dug out a cotton mat and a small blanket after flipping through the entire room. At this moment, Ning Qiji stopped picking and laid a small blanket on the ground, then flipped out a small skirt from her luggage and placed it on top. Yu Jianning saw the person running to the other end of the room and asked in a deep voice, "What are you doing so far away from me? Some people talk in their sleep in the middle of the night, making it difficult for me to sleep." As Ning Qiji spoke, he crawled into me, and the hardness of the floor made him involuntarily furrow his brows. Yu Jianning snorted coldly and didn't want to talk to him anymore. He turned off the lights and said, "Then you can sleep on your bunk." The room was plunged into darkness, and the surrounding sounds were infinitely amplified. The wind blew, dogs barked, insects chirped. And Princess Ning tossed and turned, unable to sleep. Yu Jianning couldn't help but chuckle and burst out laughing. She moved aside a bit, revealing half an empty bed, and said to the proud person, "This bed is really comfortable. Soft and warm, it's 10,000 times better than a hard floor. Princess, are you really not coming?" As soon as she finished speaking, she heard someone standing up not far away holding a cotton quilt, taking 3 steps in 2 and rushing straight into the bed. Shake the quilt, tuck the corners of the quilt, and finally cover the whole person tightly without leaving any gaps in sight. Yu Jianning poked the big drum next to him, but heard the person inside say in a muffled voice, "I'm asleep." Thinking that this person had saved him today, Yu Jianning chuckled lightly and didn't continue teasing. He lay down and began to feel drowsy. The next day. Yu Jianning's task today is very simple, which is to find a good place to live and then move out. Before leaving, she was still worried that Ning Qiji wouldn't want to follow her. Unexpectedly, before she could speak, this person had already packed up and prepared to go out. "What am I doing?" Ning Qiji raised her eyebrows slightly, "You're clumsy and clumsy. Without me following, I don't know what would happen." Yu Jianning knew that this person had a sharp tongue and a heart full of tofu, but he didn't expose it. "What kind of house do you say 80 can buy?" Upon hearing this, the person who was originally walking stopped and remained silent for a while. "You said you want to use this 800,000 yuan to buy a house. Can't we?" "Sure." Ning Qiji's lips curved slightly, and there was a hint of pity in her crescent smile. "If you add more, it will be enough to buy a toilet." Yu Jianning. When I didn't say it. Yu Jianning's big business of buying a house was not yet halfway through when it went bankrupt, so he had to reluctantly add back the rental agency that had been deleted last night. Perhaps because Ningqizi has its own luxury, they urgently contacted an intermediary to introduce them to a high-end residential property. 2 bedrooms and 1 living room with built-in furniture. The location is also convenient for Yu Jianning to go out and do business. Good greenery and good infrastructure, but the price is not very good. Yu Jianning saw the rent and almost ran away with Ning Qiji on the spot. But in the end, I followed the agent around and said, "I will definitely do it next time. Please, I really need this money." As soon as Yu Jianning walked out of the community gate, he saw a circle of people around the security booth, with a person kneeling on the ground in the center. She didn't want to join in the fun, but she heard the person kneeling on the ground shout again, "Ning Shui. From our previous friendship, please help me." This sound successfully stopped her step and she forcefully turned halfway towards the crowd. Ning Qiji originally didn't want to meet Ning Shui, but when she saw someone rushing forward, she had no choice but to help her forehead catch up. I saw a person wearing a washed white denim jacket kneeling on the ground, fingers tightly grasping Ning Shui's skirt. Looking up along the arm, the first thing that caught the eye was the pale pink thin lips, and the nose rose flat, like a beautifully curved mountain peak. He was wearing a denim blue duckbill hat, with his broken hair slightly covering his crimson eyes, but couldn't stop the tears from shining inside when searching for the book Garden www.zhaoshuyuan.com. Simply put, it's a great handsome face. Yu Jianning couldn't help but wipe away a bitter tear in his heart. Meow, the female lead is the female lead, the food is really good. Ning Shui was standing in front of him, half squatting in front of him. "Ollie, it's not that I don't want to help you, it's because I can't get that much money," she said. "Although I live in a high-end residential area and my quality of life has improved, it was all given to me by Feng Beisheng. I don't want to take the initiative to spend his money, as that would make our relationship unequal, do you understand? Yu Jianning. Can you be very equal if you passively spend the money from Feng Beisheng? This is the heroine's lines that can't roast. Can you arrange for me to meet Feng Beisheng? I'll make him a promissory note myself." The tears in the person's eyes finally fell. "Ning Shui, we've known each other since we were young, and you know that with my nature, I will definitely repay them. As long as 700,000 yuan, my grandmother can have the surgery. Please, Ning Shui." The people around him were pitted by his appearance, and the little white flower female lead Ning Shui also shed tears. She cried bitterly and choked as she broke open the other person's hand. "I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. Ollie, I really can't help you." After saying these words, she was surrounded by the rushed bodyguards and boarded the extended Lincoln. Watching the whole process on the side, Ning Qiji couldn't hold back any longer. With a cold sneer, she spoke out Yu Jianning's feelings, acting like a fake death. "Yeah." Yu Jianning nodded and commented sharply, "It's really a sow wearing a bra," one said after another. The image of this little white flower female lead is far from what she imagined, it's really a bit disconnected. On the 8th day of salted fish turning over. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De Co Lois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text. Salted fish turning over day 9. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De Co Lois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text. Salted fish turnover day 10. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De Co Lois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text.